The views expressed on this show are those of the host, guests, and callers, and not those of radio station KICK, Vision Communications Incorporated, its management, or advertisers. Vision Communications Incorporated is not responsible for the validity or accuracy of information presented on this program.
Attention sports fans. Looking for the best in updates and interviews for your high school sports? Well, you found it. You're on board with the Scoreboard Guy.
Missouri Sports Network here on KICK 92.3, the Scoreboard Guy Newcomb alongside, and as always brought to you by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks and the Missouri State Highway Patrol, who reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. We're going to go out into the St. Louis area and visit with Winfield head coach, Cody Spiegel. Coach, thanks so much for your time today.
I appreciate you having me on.
And here we're kind of making our rounds here around the state. And you guys talk about your team, what you lost from last year and what you're going to have to replace coming into this season.
The beauty for us is we returned 10 starters on offense and we returned 10 starters on defense. Last year, we were about one of the youngest teams in the state. I took the job last year 5 days before fall camp, and we lost one O-lineman, one defensive lineman, and we played a whole lot of sophomores and juniors last year. And we got pretty much everybody coming back. Offensively, we're going to be headlined by Austin Carson, he plays receiver for us. He finished 5th in the state in the 100-meter. We're pretty excited about him. And then on defense, we're going to be headlined by senior defensive end, Cole Sams, and he was a first-team all-conference, all-district guy, and unanimous selection. So we're excited about where this thing's going, and hopefully we started off with the go 1-0 this week.
All right. Got Confluence Prep Academy coming up tomorrow, Friday night. What do you know about them, and what are you going to have to do to come out on top there?
I was going into this week, I sent out a tweet and seeing if they were even going to have a team. I know they have about 18 kids on the roster right now, and there are a whole lot of freshmen and sophomores. We didn't exchange any tape with them this week, so we're kind of going in a little bit blind. We feel pretty confident with our offense, the way we run things, to get us prepared for defense. And at the end of the day, we're going to focus on us and be the best version of us that we can be this week. And I know we got a tough opponent next week with Monroe City. So we're just trying to see if we can get a little better this week.
Coming out of the jamborees of relatively healthy.
So we're full go right now. We didn't have any injuries. We played it pretty safe with our roster and played a whole lot of JV kids to get them some experience. But going into week one, we're about as healthy as we can be.
Hey, you guys located, about 30 minutes from downtown St. Louis. Kind of give the listeners or viewers an idea of who you get to play and what conference you're part of.
So we're part of the GAC, and in the GAC, there's 3 subdivisions off of it. So we play in the GAC North. We play the likes of St. Charles West, St. Charles, Orchard Farm, Warrenton. And then in our non-con, we have a pretty tough non-con. We have Monroe City next week. They're always a perennial powerhouse. We got Duchenne, who's on the rise, and we got Lift for Life Academy. And so, overall, our schedule is going to be pretty tough, and we couldn't be any more excited. We've had great off-season numbers. Last year we finished with 32 kids on the roster, and this year we're over 60. So we've doubled our roster size. Football is on the up and up here at Winfield, and community seems pretty excited for tomorrow night.
And we're visiting again with Winfield head coach Cody Spiegel. And Coach, kind of give the listeners a little bit of background. How long have you been at Winfield? And I know you mentioned you took the job, relatively late in the season, but what brought you there, and where did you grow up and go to college?
So I was born and raised in Bowling Green, Missouri, which is about 30 minutes north of Winfield. So I'm kind of familiar with the area. Played for under Jimmy Tucker, and we went to 2009. We made a state title appearance, and that kind of got the ball rolling for me, and kind of always knew I wanted to be a head coach. And then Coach Tucker has been a good mentor for me. So that, that kind of propelled me to go at Northwest. I had a couple opportunities to go play college football, but I knew I wanted to get in that coaching background. So I went to Northwest Missouri State University, powerhouse program there. And had ended up starting in film. And then we had a GA that got fired, and I just happened to be around all the time. And they gave me my first shot. Coach Adam Dorrell and Coach Kenny Gordon just gave me my first shot in coaching. Started with DBs out there, and 4 years later, it was probably one of the best experiences of my life. And then, parents kind of didn't really want to pay for me to go on to grad school and try out the college coaching game. They said, go use your degree. So I went from there to Warrenton High School for a year, and then I spent 3 years at Ship and went over to Troy Buchanan under Coach Ryan Nesbitt, and learned a ton under him. And then after that, after 3 years, I took the job last year. So going on to year 2, and I serve as the head football and head track coach, and couldn't be any more excited to be here at Winfield.
Coach, at this point in the season, you're coming up on game 1 here. What are some things that you feel like you're really doing well right now, and maybe some things that area that maybe that you need to work on with your football team? What are some things you're pleased with right now?
Right now I hired offensive coordinator Alex Harrell this year, and he's kind of brought in we're going to go extremely up-tempo offense. So we're going to snap the ball about every 12 seconds. And, with us having 60 kids on a roster, we have about 30 juniors and seniors. So we really, for the first time, we've had a varsity and a JV, and we're going to try to use that high number to our advantage. And we've got a ton of speed. So we're going to snap the ball a whole lot, and we're going to try to really try to wear teams down with our conditioning. And so we're really excited about that. And where we need to go is just honestly the program from when I took over is, when I was at Northwest, we always talked about learning to win, playing to win, and these kids just never really won a whole lot. So our focus is, starting out 1-0 this week, but it's still putting them in situations where we can teach them how to win ball games. And, that's kind of been the challenging part, where we haven't really had a winning culture, but it's trying to establish that winning culture. And that's kind of how we're going and trying how we're approaching it. And so we've set goals for ourselves, and, we've never won a conference championship in school history, and we really feel like we have a good shot at winning a conference championship. And so just bringing it to the forefront and talking about it and making kids aware of it. And now we just got to go out and do it.
A lot of teams I've seen, have gone into that kind of that spread, throw the ball over the field, get to the line of scrimmage. I don't know that anybody does any better than Glendale High School here in the Springfield area. You've got Camdenton now, as Jeff Shores kind of went to that as well. And in talking to the coaches, it makes practice a lot of fun. For the kids, it's like scrimmaging in basketball every day instead of going. It's just offense, and it makes your defense better too. But you're on the field a lot. That's got to be fun. So, as you look at your roster, you've got a lot of juniors and seniors out this year. What are the total numbers, and evidently they're way up.
Yeah. So right now we're about 62 kids on roster, and I think we're about half and half, juniors and seniors, and half freshmen. Sophomores can give you the number off the top of the head, but for the first time, because usually last year we played with 12 JV guys. All right, so now this year we're going to be able to play 30, and for us it's just not only winning this year, but creating that culture and that winning attitude for us to be able to do this thing and create an actual program and do this thing for a long time. And we really feel like the community is starting to support us. We really just think we're getting started here at Winfield.
Outstanding. And this is your second year?
Second year, yep.
Second year. So, and you're the track coach. What do you teach?
I teach PE, basically. I teach weights, and I have probably the best schedule here on campus. It's they treat me well here at Winfield.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, Cody Spiegel, we've been visiting with here at Winfield High School. They open up with Confluence Prep Academy, and then you've got Monroe City next week at home. And I greatly appreciate your time being part of the Missouri Sports Network here at the Scoreboard Guy.
Yep. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. You bet. We'll be back after these messages. Welcome back to the Missouri Sports Network here, powered by KICK 92.3 out of Springfield, Missouri, and the Missouri Sports Network at MissouriSportsNetwork.com. Pleased to be joined now by Valley Catholic head football coach Judd Nager. Coach Nager, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. Coach, before we get into this week's game, we'll talk a little bit about what you've got, coming back and what the expectations there are always high at Valley Catholic. But what did you lose from last year, and what are you having to replace?
We lost 9 seniors. 7 of those guys were out there starting, somewhere, and great kids. Guys did a good job. They were a large part of our state run in 19, and then they certainly were a large part of last season. But I think we've got 6 or 8 guys back on both sides of the ball, so we've got some starts. So we got some experience left, and knock on wood, over this run we've had over the last 15 years or so, we haven't had a year where we kind of lost everybody ever. We've just kind of had years where we always had at least 4 or 5 kids back. So
as you look at coming into this season, your jamboree, you come out of that healthy, and that's always the number one goal, is just come out of that healthy. Are you healthy going into week 1?
Yeah, we are. We feel like we got a little depth on the offensive line. We actually got 7 guys back who actually started 1 or more games last year for us on the offensive line, and that was kind of a byproduct of the COVID year. Kids got some extra opportunities, and we're able to get some experience under their belts that they might not have gotten. So we're healthy and rolling into week 1, and hopefully we can stay that way.
Coming off of that 9-1 season a year ago. Coach, first, let's talk a little bit about your background. How long have you been at Valley Catholic, and where did you grow up and go to college?
I graduated from Valley Catholic in 1996. My mom and dad are both Valley Catholic graduates, back in 1961, 62. So, I spent some time out in Virginia and, St. Charles, Missouri, along the way, because that's where my dad got moved for work and whatnot. But, for the most part, we've always been here in St. Genevieve. And then I went on to Lindenwood University and played a quarterback up there for 2 years. And then, started to scout for Valley, then, moved back to Valley as an assistant for 3 years and head coach for the last 18.
Outstanding. Now, as you go into this week 1, this is a Skyline team that you kind of handled a little bit last year, but good athletes. They like to spread it out. They're quick. They've got a lot of guys coming back. Dylan Mountain at quarterback. What are the challenges going into this week 1 game outside of the 200 plus miles that you're going to have to travel?
Yeah, anytime you play a team that's got 2 first team All-State wide receivers and a second team All-State, a quarterback back, they're going to provide, a certain set of challenges for you. And, I think their running back's a big, strong, fast kid. I think the other 2 receivers are, certainly viable options for them. And, the right tackle Aslam, I think is his first name. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but he's an outstanding offensive lineman and an outstanding defensive lineman. So we know that game last year wasn't necessarily indicative of maybe how good either team was, because I think we had 4 guys out because of COVID, and they missed some shots early in the game where they could have scored, and ran the ball well on us at times, and we just kind of had a few big plays on them, which kind of made the score a little wider than perhaps the game actually was.
Talk a little bit about your schedule. Has it changed from what it has been in the past? I know you guys jumped up, with the new system here to maybe Class 3. Has that changed your schedule at all?
Yeah, it did. We decided to make some changes in the middle of a cycle, which isn't always easy. But we contacted 3 teams in our conference that we've kind of had lopsided scores against. And, we told them if we can help you find a game, we don't want to leave anybody without a game, and we don't want to leave anybody high and dry. And we were able to help those 3 schools find a game, which kind of left us in a position where we had some, games to find. So, but, it all worked out. We were able to add St. Dominic to the schedule. I think they got 99 kids on their roster, which is wild. Westminster and St. Francis Borgia. So, we felt like we didn't want a reoccurrence to happen of what happened last year in the playoffs, and just that we weren't necessarily, I don't want to say that we weren't prepared for it, because we played, the team who won it and, did okay in that ball game. But, it was just really hard for us to compare how good individual players were for them, because we didn't have anything to compare it to. And so, that was kind of the genesis behind that ideal.
As you look at, St. Genevieve Valley Catholic there and just the history that they've had, the tradition that they have, what kind of drives that? I've talked with John Roderick at Webb City, and they've kind of got that same thing going on there at Webb City. Lamar starting to kind of build that tradition. What is it there at St. Genevieve that makes it so special?
I think it's, in most parts, it's a family deal, more than it is what we do, within our program, in that I think they feel like they have a certain responsibilities, to their older brothers or to their uncles or to their dads or their grandpas who, kind of set a standard in the program of how things were going to be done. And I think any successful organization has a complete buy-in from everybody in the organization, and really everybody outside of it on the fringes, whether it's the grounds crew guys or the, booster club guys or the, guys who kind of sit around at the bar on a Friday night. Everybody's kind of bought in, and I would imagine those 2 towns probably have the same thing. And, we've been able to keep that rolling, but, we have a lot of volunteers, and we have a lot of outstanding servant, leaders in our community. And I think when you have that, it's just going to foster the next generation of that. And, if you're a servant leader, I think you're going to win some football game.
You bet. Visiting with St. Genevieve Valley Catholic head football coach Judd Nager here on the Missouri Sports Network, sponsored by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks. Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks with more than 12 locations here in Southwest Missouri. Drive new roads. Go to Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks. And Coach Nager, as we head in here to week 1, what do you feel like right now as you're going into it that you guys are really doing well? And maybe what are some things that you feel like you need some more work on?
We've done an outstanding job this offseason and all through practice of just having outstanding practices. Our depth at the offensive lines and the defensive lines has really allowed us to put together some really outstanding days out there on the practice field, because when your scout team offensive line and your scout team defensive line isn't necessarily overly matched, it kind of gives everybody else in the field a better idea of what's actually going on, and you can kind of see your deficiencies a little faster, and you can kind of make adjustments a little faster, and you can see the problems and you can get them fixed. And we've got 3 or 4 really good guys back at the skill positions as well. First team All-State wide receiver Aiden Heberly, who's signed to play a baseball at Mizzou, and then Chase Follert's a quarterback. I think he was 3rd team All-State last year in Class 3. He's a kid who's probably going to play Division I at the baseball. Excuse me. And in the sport of baseball as well. And then, we've got a running back that's probably like a D2 kid. So I think, we've got some outstanding skill guys back to kind of go with that, offensive and defensive line depth. And as far as things that we got to work on, I think it's always the same things, making sure that your eyes are clear on the defensive side of the ball, making sure you understand the concepts of the plays on offense rather than just trying to remember what you do on a certain play. And, our kids are, starting to turn that corner. And I think when you get that ideal of concepts down, it allows you to make adjustments on the field that, really, coaches don't even have to get involved with.
What time you guys heading out to make your way to Urbana, Missouri?
Oh, we're going to leave at 10:30. We'll probably stop a couple times. We're excited to see Coach, Shelby. We've got to be really good friends over the years. He came down to visit us probably 4 years ago. So it's probably our turn to get out there and see what he, likes to do out there on the river where he lives. But, he's an outstanding coach and an outstanding human being. And, we'll be kind of glad when the ball game's over. I think it's been a little stress on our friendship to have to play each other the last 2 years. But, we couldn't find anybody. And at the time, they couldn't find anybody. So it just kind of, worked itself out that way.
Outstanding. Well, Coach Nager, I really appreciate you being generous with your time today, and hopefully we can catch up, maybe join us on a scoreboard show one night this year.
Oh, yeah, man. Anytime, man. Thank you very much.
Hey, you bet. Coach Judd Nager, head coach of St. Genevieve Valley Catholic, and we'll be back after these messages. Hey, welcome back to KICK 92.3, home of the Missouri Sports Network. Guy Newcomb, the scoreboard guy, alongside. And pleased to be joined now. We go to Olive Branch, Mississippi. And the Center Hills High School Mustangs football coach, Alan Peacock, who's also the athletic director down there. But Coach Peacock, hey, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm glad to do it.
And you guys have stepped in and filled a void at West Plains. You guys will be traveling up there tomorrow to take on the West Plains Zizzers. How did that all come about with the scheduling?
Man, just I found out yesterday at about 1 o'clock, really probably closer to 2, that we were losing our game. Had practice at 2 and then had a faculty meeting after. And so me and my coaches were just, I was texting people. I was, on the internet, looking for stuff. And I just, High School Football America or somebody had retweeted it on Twitter that they were looking. So I emailed them in the faculty meeting. And as soon as I got out, we called, talked, and, through talking with him, talking to his AD and all of that, it just kind of worked itself out.
Coach, give us an idea about the Mustangs football. You're 5-5 a year ago. What does your roster look like? And your guys are very similar size schools as West Plains.
Yeah, very similar from an enrollment standpoint. I think we'll travel probably 70 kids, 75 kids, something like that, 10 through 12. We 5-5 last year. We started 5-2. We lost two games due to COVID shutdown. We were actually, I think, either in tie for first or in sole first in our division, playing our homecoming game, and actually got shut down at 12 o'clock the day of the game. Had three kids that rode together, and they wound up all getting it, and then we had a coach or two have it. So it was just kind of a perfect storm of everything happening right there at one time, and lost that game, which is a game I felt like we definitely could have won. They were the last place team in our district last year, and then lost the next week's game, which is one I felt like we would have had a chance in. It would have been a tough one, but we win for sure. Both of those were in the playoffs. You win one, you got a shot. Set out for 2 weeks and came back and played one of the perennial powerhouses in 5A. We were 5A last year in Mississippi, in West Point. Played them on one day of practice. We were able to practice on Thursday and then drove to West Point on Friday and played the game.
So this is your opener. I'm assuming that you lost with Clarksdale. Maybe is that the team you lost?
Yeah, we lost our opener. We played a jamboree last week and then lost our opener to Clarksdale.
So coming up to West Plains, how do you game plan in a day for a West Plains team that, and just to be quite honest, probably one of the best teams in the Ozark Conference, if not, in this region, with what they've got coming back in the backfield at quarterback and on the offensive line.
Yeah, well, I'm glad that I coach offense. That's for sure. Coach Perkins and I, we swapped film yesterday. I don't know, 6 or 7 o'clock. I went home and I saw my wife a little bit, and then when she went to bed at 9, I came to the school and watched film till about midnight last night. So I watched it a little bit this morning again. I think the flip side of that is we're hard to prepare for offensively because we're different than a lot of people. I think Coach Perkins says they do play one team in their district that's similar to us, but from an offensive standpoint, I think we'll be okay. But obviously, it's going to be. I know they got the Lair kid at linebacker that's really really good, and then their quarterback is some kind of good as well.
And Coach, you talk about your offensive philosophies there, and again, we're visiting with Alan Peacock, the head coach for the Center Hill Mustangs, coming up to play West Plains. Give the viewers kind of an idea, the listeners an idea of what style of offense do you run? Yeah,
so we're very much like Army, Navy, Air Force, the academies, under center triple option. If you know a Harding University in Arkansas, we're very much like them. They're very successful D2 program in Arkansas. Really good relationships with their coaches, but we're gonna be under center. We're gonna run the football. We ain't gonna throw it that much. So at least that part we'll get the game over with quick from our side anyway. Try to shorten the game. In our district, in our league, we're usually from a talent standpoint, we've been on the lower end, and so we want to shorten the game, control the tempo, control the clock, and see what happens.
Give an idea of some of the players that folks here might be wanting to pay attention to, because we're not going to get down into Mississippi very often to watch. So, who are some of the guys on your team that really we should prepare to watch?
Yeah, I think he's actually my backup quarterback, but he's going to start due to an injury last week in our jamboree. His name's Eric Covington. He's going to play quarterback. He's going to flip over and play defensive line, and he's our punter. So he's kind of a jack of all trades. He's a big kid. He's about 6'3", 250. So I think he weighs more than all of our starting O linemen. I think most of them are in the 240 range, 220 range, and he's bigger than they are. Defensively, Jason Painter, outside linebacker, is going to do some things. We got a corner that's going to play some receiver named Denver Kiner, and he's got a chance to be really special. He's about 6'3", 6'4", basketball kid as well, can run a little bit. I got a little fullback, Amari Dawkins. He's not real tall, but really, really strong. He was a state champion power lifter in the state of Mississippi in his weight class. And so runs really hard, got some quickness. And then another kid, Kamian Knight, is going to play DB and both some slot for us. So I think it's going to be, I hope, I know just from what I've seen and the response and phone calls I've gotten today, I think it's going to be an exciting game and hopefully a good matchup, and we'll give people their money's worth.
You bet. Visiting with Alan Peacock, the head coach at Center Hill for the Mustangs out of Olive Branch, Mississippi, traveling up to play West Plains. This segment brought to you by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks. Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks with more than 12 locations here in Southwest Missouri, and the Missouri State Highway Patrol who reminds us to take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Coach, kind of give the viewers here an idea of your background. How long have you been there in Olive Branch? Where'd you cut your teeth at, college, et cetera, and how long have you been there?
Yeah, so I'm originally from a little bitty town called French Camp, Mississippi. I think I graduated with 30 kids in my high school, played high school football there, went to Belhaven University, which is it was NAIA at the time. It's D3 now, in Jackson, Mississippi, the capital. Played 2 years of football there under Norman Joseph, and then got a job. Got married in my junior year of college. Got a job as soon as I got out of school at Clinton High School in Clinton, Mississippi, right outside of Jackson. It's my wife's hometown. Was there for 7 years. I was offense coordinator for the last 5 years there, and then just wanted to be a head coach, and we applied to the job up here, got it, and we, my kids they're juniors and seniors now. They were kindergarten and first grade at that point. Moved up here. I think I moved up in April, and then my wife and family followed in June, into June, and been here ever since. Made it home, and love it here. Got a great school, good place to work, good kids. We're kind of our county is the biggest county in the state of Mississippi. We're right outside of Memphis, so we have 8 high schools. They're all over 900 kids. The smallest one's like 9 something. The rest of them are all over 1,000. So it's a heavy populated area. And we just kind of came up here and made it home.
Now, when you talk about districts, and I know each state has its own district, like right now in the state of Missouri, we haven't even been given the districts yet. Those won't come out till tomorrow. Are you guys like I believe West Plains was probably going to be a Class 4 school out of 6 classes in Missouri? Are you guys in a similar situation?
Yeah, we are. We reclassify every 2 years, and what they do is take the top 32 enrollments, and those are 6A, and then the next 32 are 5A. My first year 10 years ago, was their first year in 5A, and then this year, my 11th season will be our first year in 6A. We were the smallest. We were the number 32 6A school at the reclassification. So the largest schools are Tupelo and DeSoto Central. They're around at South Haven. They're around 2,000, and then we're sitting right at 1,050.
Outstanding. Well, Coach, I really appreciate on short notice being part of the show, and we actually had on Coach Matt Perkins yesterday, and he at that time was still looking for a game, and was I think he had reached out to maybe somebody in Texas where maybe they're going to meet halfway, and then he texted me this morning and said he got you guys, and he was excited about it, and it's a lot closer, 100, 200 miles or less, whatever. But I hope you enjoy your time here in Missouri, and maybe we'll catch up down the road sometime. But thank you so much for being part of the show.
Yeah, man, no problem. I appreciate it.
You're listening to the Missouri Sports Network here on KICK 92.3, the School Board Guy Network as well. Certainly glad you've tuned in. Stay right here. We'll be back after these messages. To the KICK 92.3 home of the Missouri Sports Network. I'm the scoreboard guy, Guy Newcomb, alongside, and we're pleased to be joined now by the head football coach of the West Plains Zizzers, Matt Perkins. Coach, hey, thanks so much for your time today.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Coach, and we'll visit a little bit, but I know you've been there since 2015. You've been the head coach now for the last couple of years. Talk about kind of how you got started there at West Plains, where you came from, kind of just a little bit of background on Coach Perkins.
Yeah. So born and raised just down the road in Willow Springs, Missouri, about 20 miles, north, and started my career in, I want to say 2003, coaching junior high football under a guy named Steve Airy. Steve was the head coach at Willow Springs at the time. And, he left that first year that I was an assistant junior high coach. He left to go to Mountain Grove. And when he left, we got a new high school coach. And so I started working kind of up there in Willow, moving up the ladder a little bit. And eventually, about 3 years later, I was the head football coach at Will Springs. So I was a head coach there for 6 years. Ran into Coach Airy one time at a Glazier football clinic in Kansas City, and he just asked me, if there'd be any interest in coming to West Plains. And I said, sure. It's hard to tell Steve Airy no on anything. And so I really didn't think much about it. And a little bit later, he called me and asked me if I wanted to come interview for a job. And be honest with you, I was kind of excited about our kids there. So I didn't really think I'd do it. I came up to interview, and, Steve he's just an awesome dude. And he won me over immediately. And I thought, I could stay here and maybe be, a mediocre version of myself for the next however long. And where I could, leave my hometown and go down the road a little bit and learn from a Hall of Famer. And made that decision. It was really tough. It's, hard to say bye to people that you've been around all your life, but left and went down the road and got to be, next to Steve, and got to be next to, another Hall of Fame guy and Greg Dixon. I don't know if he's a Hall of Famer yet or not, but Coach Dixon's on the staff, and Coach Womack on the staff, who's, 34-year coach and Hall of Famer in basketball. And he's a legend in football too. People just don't know about. And so I got to come down here and learn from all those guys. And, about 4 years later, Steve, he jumped ship to go to Arkansas, and I guess I was fortunate enough to get the job here, and the program's already established, and was lucky to step into a really good situation.
Yeah, we're visiting with head coach for the West Plains Zizzers, Matt Perkins. And Coach Perkins, you make that move from assistant coach, offensive line coach, quarterback coach. You make that, so to speak, to that front seat. The guy with the headset on, calling the plays or whatever. What was the biggest challenges as moving into that role?
First time at Willow or the second time at West Plains?
First time at Willow.
Oh man, I can't even tell you where the challenges were. So you get into that job and you don't know enough, and you're not ready, but you don't know how much you don't know, and you don't know how much you're not ready until you're in it. And so I lived that life. And I was fortunate. I was placed with a guy named Vince McCroskey. Vince is a longtime head coach at Kabul, and he's been all over Southern Missouri as an assistant now. And Vince is a really hard worker, and I learned a lot of habits in terms of, how to approach the game the right way. And really, he did a great job just trying to help me through that process. And I look back on it and think, my goodness, like, this guy had to put up with I had no clue, didn't belong there, didn't deserve the job, all those things. And so I'm indebted to that guy. And then, the second time around, you get in, you think, okay, now I've got things figured out. And, I wasn't really that bad at Willow and all those things. And then you're back in the fold, and you're like, crap, I don't know anything again. And so it's just it's an interesting position. It's an interesting job because it changes every single day, and you're catering to kids, and all kids are different. So you've got to be able to adapt and all those types of things. And that's something I tried to pick up from Steve. He's a really good kid guy, and I think just being genuine, being yourself, and trying to make sure that you're trying to help kids and you can find success.
Well, then you jump into this head coaching here at West Plains, and then the pandemic hits, and now you've got a whole nother set of challenges in front of you.
Yeah. I think that's been an interesting, dynamic for everybody all across the country. And, you only know what you know. And so you're trying to learn through that. You're trying to be patient, and, your administrators are dealing with a whole different, world of that you're not even, able to really know what's going on behind the scenes. And so that's a challenge. And I think the big thing there is to just, trust your kids and try to be as open and upfront as you can, and really take value in every single day that you're together. And that was kind of our mantra last year, is that we were just going to try to focus on us and try to focus on, what we can control. And, we kind of carry that mindset into this year. And here we are week one without an opponent. So,
Yeah, an outstanding season a year ago, 10-2. Your last game, you lose to the eventual state champions, Elias Catholic, just by 6 points. Everyone knows about the all-state kids you've got coming back in the backfield on the line with James Kinslow and Connor Lair, who I had the privilege of calling a couple of games a year ago with those guys on the field. What else have you got coming back to kind of surround them, and what are you actually having to replace from last year, whether it be in the line or wide receiver or defensively?
Yeah, so I'll start with what we're replacing. We bring back quite a bit. We're bringing back basically 9 starters on each side of the ball, and so expectations are high. But we're losing some really good football players that were there. Titus Steele was a 3-year starter. He was a part of the 2018 team that Coach Airy led and kind of rode off into the sunset with his final year in Missouri. And Titus was an all-state linebacker as a junior, and then last year was an all-state running back for us. He could play both sides of the ball. If you were to, look up a video version of a definition of a football player, you would see Titus Steele. He wants to run through you. Just great kid, great work ethic, weight room guy. Can't say enough. We had a kid named Sebastian Rodgers that I for the last 2 years have said I think he's the most underrated player in West Plains high school history. He was a defensive tackle for us that was an all-stater last year. We lost him. That's a big loss. Sebastian had a tremendous motor. We had a kid on the back end named Chance Eldringhoff that was a starter for us last year that kind of was our coach on the field for our defense. He was our communicator. And so those are 3 really good dudes that we lost from a year ago. And then we had a couple other guys that played some tight end for us, Kyler Stowers and Colt Hickson, that had some really quality reps for us as well. And Kyler was a jack of all trades. He played center 1 year. He played fullback. So we lost some value for sure. And now coming back from last year's team, I mentioned we have basically 9 starters on each side of the ball back. And everybody knows about, Dagan and Jalen and Connor, and that they're really good football players. We've got quite a few really good players around them. We have a senior class, 26 strong. Probably about 19 or 20 of those guys are going to be heavily counted on. Got a 3-year starter in Garrett Brown he's been a defensive end. He's been an outside linebacker. He's going to play inside linebacker this year. Got Aiden Holt. That was a starting guard for me as a sophomore, starting defensive tackle last year. He's probably going to play linebacker. You got Jason Lopez, who may be our total best player. He's a really special player that people don't talk about. He's a 39-inch vertical guy. He's a 10-foot broad jump guy. He's 175 pounds, and I think he threw up 225 for 11 reps at a combine here just a little while back. Quick twitch guy. We've just got a lot of really good kids. Bring back the entire offensive line. Got a left guard next to Jalen, left guard named Blake Reed. Blake's as good as Jalen or anybody I think that we'll see. He's a really good player. At guard, we got Magnus Sanders at center, who's 6 foot, 350 pounds and can move. Big kid that can move. And Cole Easley back at the offensive line, one of our best players from last year, probably graded out higher than any lineman we had last year. And then Gabe Dietrich, 6'5", 240-pound right tackle. So we're pretty blessed to have all those guys back. Some playmakers offensively. Heston Miller, who I think is about to just unload in Southwest Missouri. 200-meter guy in track last year, part of a really good 4x1, 4x2 team. He was an individual 100-meter guy that was special. I think he missed 2 games for quarantine last year, and may have had 9 touchdowns for us. He's going to have a really big year. He was a sophomore a year ago, just a junior now. And I could go on and on. I don't know how much time you want me to go, but I've got a lot of really good kids that I'm really excited about. And was talking to Coach Pitts, my defensive coordinator, who's, as good as they come. Can't say enough about him. He's our strength and conditioning coordinator. We were talking this morning about how, we just lost our game week 1. And I think we've had the best attendance we've ever had. I've been here. This is my 8th year. Best attendance we've ever had at West Plains. Best focus from our kids. We're not having to track kids down. I mean, 1 a week, maybe out of, close to 100 kids. I mean, it's been a phenomenal run. And then to have the, carpet pulled out from underneath them, I'm sick for my kids right now.
Yeah, we're visiting with Matt Perkins, the head coach for West Plains Zizzers. This segment brought to you by Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks. Chevy Dealers of the Ozarks, 12 locations here in Southwest Missouri. And the Missouri State Highway Patrol reminds us, take that 3 seconds and buckle up. It's 3 seconds that could save your life. Be safe, be smart, and be here tomorrow. Well, Coach, you come into this season, obviously, with kind of that target on your back with what you have returning and the success you had a year ago. How do you keep these guys focused, knowing now you've already lost a week 1 game with Glendale, and then you've got to go to Hillcrest here in week 2, who I think may surprise some people this year.
Yeah, hopefully you're able to rely on that senior leadership in terms of focus. I mean, these guys have been they've been through it, before. And you look at a team like Hillcrest last year, they took us to the wire. We were lucky to win that game. Their record may not have been very good, but they were, a hard fought team. And so I know our kids are going to, be focused for whoever we play. But I think the big thing is to just kind of focus on the here and now. I mean, we've got to go out and have a practice today, not knowing, what's going to happen this Friday, and try to come up with a way to get our kids, prepared and get better. And I think while it's challenging, I think our kids are up for that.
Coach, have you had any feelers out trying to maybe replace that game? I know California, they lost a game with Clinton, who dropped their program this year, and they picked up that game with St. James because of Salem's COVID problems. Have you had any contact with anybody, any interest?
We have contacted since the moment we found out yesterday. Our athletic director, Tammy Miller, has done an awesome job trying to find us a game. She's just been a go-getter and trying to, help us out. Our assistant superintendent, Dr. Wes Davis, has been trying to help find us games, been on the phone. I've been really impressed with those two and how much they've tried to help us. I've been trying to obviously find games. Every coach on our staff has different contacts from across the state that they've been reaching out to. And, it's a process. We still have a few potential things that might unfold. And kind of the sad thing is, this late here, you basically are going to have somebody else in our position, or I guess in, Glendale's position, getting quarantined in order to maybe steal a game from somebody. And it's kind of hard to hope for that, if that makes sense. But
right.
I think, honestly, there's a team in Texas right now that we're in communications with on maybe playing a neutral site game. I mean, who knows? I want to give our kids a chance to play, so we'll see what happens.
You bet. Well, Coach, as always, really appreciate you being generous with your time. And I know we'll get to visit here throughout the season, and maybe a high school game day will show up with the Missouri Sports Network somewhere where you guys are playing. But thank you so much for your time.